upsetting to think how many guys out there are getting their ideas and their values of women based on a pornographic image where her face is in the distant background of the picture. Just remember that the images you see in those few seconds will take years to forget. He also says that looking at pornography is the perfect way to shoot your marriage in the head. He uses some pretty strong language, but it's true. We men from pornography learn to sacrifice the girl for the sake of ourselves, and we miss the point of what the body is all about. Is my bride's body worth waiting to see? Every one of you guys needs to ask yourself that question tonight. Is my bride's body worth waiting to see? By not looking at pornography, you are training yourself to wait with your eyes. And we live in a world where many of us have made mistakes, and like I said, I'm not a perfect man. But just because we're not perfect, does it mean we sit here and we think, well, I'm not perfect, why should I try? No, we get up and we change our behaviour, we make changes in our life. Because Jesus said in his crucifixion, he said that he makes all things new again. So just because we've made mistakes in our life doesn't mean you can't have a new start. So imagine that your wife's body is the first and the only that you'll ever see. It's a beautiful thing, and when you tell her, when you meet her, she will thank you for your life, even for waiting with your eyes. I know of a married couple who I heard of recently, and they're going through a divorce at the moment. What do you think the contributing factor behind this is? He's taken his problem of pornography into the marriage, thinking, you know, I'll give up the porn when I get married. He hasn't given it up. He's gone in with a complete misconception and continued with that misconception of what his wife's body is all about. His wife has found out, and now they're going through a divorce, which could have been avoided. I can't stress how important it is that if you or you know of someone who has a problem with this, stand up and be strong and tell them to change, because remember that love can wait to give, but lust cannot wait to get. The difference is, lust is selfish and love is selfless. To be a real man, we need to understand how pornography works, and we need to say no to its use. Because women aren't the only people being exploited by pornography, we as men are. So where is our manhood coming from? There is a tendency that we men have, and we need to be aware of it. We have testosterone flowing through our veins, and it is very powerful, as I'm sure many of you have experienced, and I'm sure you know. Combine that with the influence of the world, and perhaps not men in this room, but we often find ourselves surrounded with cocky, arrogant, on yourself and pretentious men who are all about themselves. Don't take this as me putting men down. Take it as a challenge to get better. Does being a man mean you have the biggest muscles, you bench press the most? Does it mean you run the fastest, you get the highest exam marks, you've got the best car, the most good-looking girls on Facebook, the most girls' phone numbers? Think about that while we talk about where our manhood is coming from. We need to change the way we think about girls. Us men have a responsibility to preserve our girlfriends for their future spouse. Just because you're dating someone right now, does it mean you're going to get married? I know engagements that have broken up, many. So you are never certain that that is going to be the person until you say, I do. A girl who her engagement broke up a few years ago, she's just joined the convent. So what a change. We've got a few priests in our diocese who were engaged, about to be married, pulled the pin at the last minute, and they are the best priests I've ever met. So just because you're in a relationship, just because you might be engaged, it's a beautiful thing, I'm not trying to talk it down, but we have a responsibility as guys to preserve that person forever and preserve their dignity. Because we have a desire to lust after girls, we also have a desire to love girls. In this world, we grow up with a lot of influences which encourage us to lust and not to love and treat that person with a soul. Sometimes our father doesn't show us real love or how to respectfully treat women. Or you don't have a father in your life. That's the way things are these days. We're often taught from our peers that if we get some from a chick, that's the terminology that's used, that we're the man, and that's the point of our relationships with women. I used to play footy, and every footy training session I went to, it was just a typical drill. You do 2 laps to warm up, then everyone stands in a circle and stretches. And then the netballers run around the oval and they all go. Now, I know what they were thinking, but the girls would giggle and they'd love the attention. Okay, some of the guys in that group, you know, the questions would come out straight away. So who did what with what girl on the weekend, you know? A few of the guys would talk up and say, well, you know, I did this, and they'd talk about how they conquered some girl. That word conquer is very important, because what they're learning to do is conquer other people and not themselves. And do you know what I said? Nothing. All I felt like I could do is stand there in a circle and pray for those girls who had been used, and pray that they would one day find out what their body was really about, and that they would be able to look at themselves with dignity and respect like they deserve. So what do we have to do to be men then? Men need to conquer something, and they know it deep in their heart and being. Many of us go through our life though, we never work out what it is we need to conquer. And what many of us end up doing is we conquer the women in our lives. We guys, we have strength. You've got physical strength, but you've also got strength of character. And your strength is needed. We need you to stand up in the church. You need to know that you have strength so that you can rise up and act like a man, what you were designed to be. That image of sacrifice, called to live like Christ lived. Your strength, while you need to know that you have it, you also need to know what it is for. Who is that strength designed for? We are given strength for a reason. Ultimately, as men, our strength is to be used for the good of others, not ourselves. God calls us to humility. When we feel ourselves thinking we're all that, and we're thinking of ourselves and not praying, and not of others, pray for humility. Remember the Beatitudes, such as blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Realise that compared with God, we're nothing. But through him we can achieve really great things. That's the important thing to realise, is that it's not our power, but it's through God that we can achieve much. Returning to that question of what men need to conquer. What is it that we need to conquer? We talked about it briefly, but to be a man, we must learn to die to ourselves and think of others. This is what Jesus did on the cross. St. Joseph also did this as perfectly as any human being has ever done it. He had original sin, but he sacrificed himself day after day to God and for his wife, Our Lady. Dancing. I decided to do a little bit of research on dancing because I've seen some of the trends over the years that are happening when you go out. And I thought, well, okay, what's dancing for then? You know, people enjoy doing it. Okay, so it's for enjoyment. It's to show beauty. It's repetition, symmetry. It can be a very good thing, and that's what it's designed for, but it can also be a very bad thing. Most people agree the main purpose of dancing is to express yourself. You know, you're feeling happy, so you make it visible, and it's a tangible thing. And you have fun and you enjoy yourself. It's really supposed to be about the beauty. But the way people dance these days, it stirs up and attracts sexual attention. It encourages that same theme of divorce from the body and the soul.